let's finally talk about the 100 Thieves situation in the LCS, or now LTA, going into 2025, because man, did I pick a terrible week to go on vacation, which, to be fair, was not my fault. We were supposed to go 2 weeks prior, and then it got pushed back due to other reasons. Now, I can't sit here and assume that everybody has the same level of information as those that have been in the comments saying, hey, when are you going to comment about 100 Thieves leaving the LCS, etc., etc. So we got to go over everything. And I'll put timestamps down below if you want to jump ahead a little bit. So let's go back just after LCS Finals. Travis Gafford leaks that, yes, 100 Thieves are going to be staying in the LCS come 2025 in some capacity. The two teams that will be leaving will be both NRG and Immortals. 100 Thieves fans rejoiced. We got to enjoy Worlds, or enjoy what was the few games of it, but rumors did start swirling of whether 100 Thieves were actually going to just be a partner team, or whether they would potentially become that guest slot or something else. All of this sat in limbo for quite a while until we got the official announcement of the rebranding of the LTA, and with that, Riot had to announce who was going to be the teams and involved in what capacity, of which 100 Thieves is going to be a provisional team, of which they released the following statement. After careful consideration, 100 Thieves has decided to sell its franchise slot in the LCS. This decision did not come lightly, as the LCS has been an integral part of our brand and identity since the beginning of our company. As our business continues to develop, this divestiture allows us to broaden our investment in esports, ventures, and partnerships, enabling us to continue experimenting, innovating, and investing in the future of our company. Let's start here. Why would they do this? Why would they divest? Well, they clearly need the money in some capacity. I mean, they have ownership in the league. In a Q&A on Reddit afterwards, Jungle Juice noted that they will be getting a reduced stipend for this provisional spot versus the teams that are paying or still have equity in the LTA in League of Legends, like Team Liquid, like Cloud9. So you're getting more cash up front, but you are getting lower payments as time goes on. Whether that will be the case going forward, we don't know, but clearly 100 Thieves needs the money in some capacity. But this raises a ton of questions, because if you go back, the reason why we even have this Sniper, Quid, Ayla, Tomo, well, Tomo officially just announced earlier yesterday that he is no longer going to be with 100 Thieves, so we're waiting to see who the new ADC is going to be. But they were tasked with being profitable by the end of 2024. Malk, the president of esports of 100 Thieves, specifically noted that yes, every segment has to do so. That's why they cut Juvie, because there was going to be no plan for them to be profitable by the end of the year. The video game company cut, and the rosters all scaled back across every segment of the organization. We overperformed with that. So there was an assumption coming into this year, and we haven't seen anything to be proven otherwise, that yes, 100 Thieves League of Legends was profitable and building towards something good. So realistically, you're not taking this money because you necessarily need it for League of Legends. And the fact that they said in that statement to broaden our investment in esports means to me that they're going to be taking this money and buying other teams and doing other things, maybe paying off other debts, because the League of Legends program, as it's operating now, is growing and has momentum behind it while still being profitable. Unless you're taking that money and reinvesting it in the league, which I'll touch on a little bit later, I don't think that makes sense to me, unless there's other debts in other parts of the business that you need to cover up. There might be other holes to plug, but obviously we don't get access to their P&L, so we will never know. Continuing on, despite this, through close collaboration with Riot Games, Riot has made the strategic decision to buy back the slot, and we have been presented with a unique opportunity to transition as a provisional guest partner to the 2025 season. We're excited to announce that we have accepted this transition, which marks the start of a new era in the Americas League. We do not take this opportunity for granted, and will continue to build our current program while striving to meet the same standards of excellence that we have demonstrated over the years. Oh boy, does this statement fall apart quick. Now, an important distinction to note here is that this statement likely had to be approved by Riot Games, given that Riot ultimately controls all the verbiage of this entire thing. But now that Riot has spoken on it, courtesy of Mark Z via the dive, we can take what Riot actually meant. Because this whole part of we have announced that we have accepted this transition, which marks the start of a new era, kind of bullshit. Mark Z noted that they were in talks with several other teams to possibly take 100 Thieves' spot, but given the short time frame of everything flipping and a lot of change elsewhere, they wanted 100 Thieves to stay to kind of mitigate the damage and flame that might be elsewhere, because otherwise they'd be losing another big brand, the likes of TSM, CLG, etc. I mean, 100 Thieves was the third most popular emote sold in the LCS this past split. It's not like we're talking about a small team here. We're talking about the third largest fandom in the league, reportedly. So while 100 Thieves may have accepted it, Riot was clearly entertaining other offers, but just couldn't find the right person to replace 100 Thieves at the time without having all that much damage around it. As for the whole meeting the standard of excellence that we've demonstrated over the years, what? I'm assuming the statement is talking about in-game, where 100 Thieves has made Worlds 4 times, to which I would agree, yes, they are one of the better orgs in the LCS franchise era history. But if we're talking about standard of excellence outside of that, let's not lie and say that the org is in the same spot, especially the League of Legends program, as it was at the beginning of all this. Back in 2018, even 2019, content fell off, had to be brought back. There were so many issues. We have no League of Legends content creators within the org at all. Yeah, it's not as bad as it could be. It's not as bad as others. But personally, I hold 100 Thieves to a much higher standard than what was delivered for a bit. And yes, it's turning around, but I don't know about that. And finally, special thanks to our community. We believe that this opportunity was made possible due to the support of our dedicated, loyal, and everlasting fan base. We remain committed to building championship teams and supporting the New Americas League in our community for the future. Really, let's show the Malk clip, shall we? Not even the clip, the statement. There is no situation. I don't care the context around it. I know Malk was ultimately just trying to say, like, hey, we want people to be broader fans of 100 Thieves, not just like the League of Legends program. And yes, things are up and down. And realistically, yes, C9 and Team Liquid are the two most stable brands in esports right now, or at least on the League of Legends front. So yeah, you're probably better off going to them. As a president of esports, as the head of an organization who is tasked with trying to develop fandom and develop a community, those are words you never, ever say publicly. Even if you're thinking it, you don't say it. It is the biggest screw you to all of the fans. And unfortunately, I kind of fit uniquely into this category, so I can kind of be a little bit more vocal on this one than others. I always said 100 Thieves was my adopted home because I had nobody to turn to whenever my team left the LCS in 2019. I had connections with Nadeshot from Optic, but joined the 100 Thieves League of Legends side. And part of what made the 100 Thieves League side appealing to me was the stuff around the org outside of just League, even if I knew I would ultimately be mostly following League of Legends. That's like 90% of the identity, but I want that other 10%, and that does hold true to me. So to sit here and say that if you only care about League of Legends, you're better off going elsewhere, that betrays so much of the identity of what hardcore fandom should be. You should want the 100 Thieves League of Legends pillar to stand on its own and be one independent member of a family. It's like telling your family members in general, like, if you don't love every single person in this family, we're just going to simply disown you, or you're better off going to a different family. Like, no, I don't have to like everybody to still call you my parents. Like, what the Now, Malk has since put out a public apology and tried walking the statement back a little bit, but brother, the damage is so far done. This might have been one of the most severe PR mistakes in esports that I think I've seen in a long time, without like anybody doing anything malicious or like bad. We're not talking like Reggie, thing like that. I'm just saying like dumb statements to ever put out on the internet. This is one of them, because you're losing fans. To wrap up the other news around this, in the Q&A that was on Reddit, Jungle Juice kind of went in depth a little bit more on their 2026 involvement, where they say they would still like to be there. The Mark Z statement contradicts a lot of the things that were said there, given that Riot has full control. 100 Thieves has no ability to determine any of this. But the one interesting thing for 2025, at least, is that he said that they did get a slight increase in the budget going into next year. Whether that means that they're deficit spending, whether that means that they actually just have additional money and they're still break even at that point, we don't know, but a good roster could be built next year. So I don't want to take away from the full hype of what could be the 2025 squad. But clearly, there are a lot of fans across the 100 Thieves fandom that don't know how to feel about all this, as was seen by the fact that multiple people have said, hey, when's your video going to come out? I'm not sure how I feel about this, etc. And I want to give some advice to those fans. And I know this might make me enemies within the space, and that's fine, but I have to be honest with people because that is what I ran myself to be, and that's what I think people value in my community. You should probably take Malk's words seriously. You should, if you want to be a fan of a League of Legends team that genuinely cares and is going to be around for 100% certainty, but also just respects their community without making statements like that, and like will put League of Legends as a higher priority where it should be, then yeah, you probably should go to TL or Cloud9. I've said multiple times that I'm a fan of teams and not players, and that still remains true. But given that the 100 Thieves brand will still be there and the majority of the players will still be there, it's going to make it tough for a lot of people. But if you do decide to stay and support 100 Thieves for what I do believe is going to be their final year in League of Legends, don't buy any merch. Don't buy the jerseys. Don't buy the hats. Don't buy anything until you get a commitment from the org that they're going to stay. When their future is out of their control, you should not sit here and fully invest. You have zero reason to. Because the determination of what Riot is going to do with that guest slot is clear. They want to have a permanent partner. They only want to have one rotating guest slot where Disguised Toast currently is, with no other plans to expand unless the league itself expands. But they clearly want 6 teams that are going to be there no matter what. Now, what would 100 Thieves be able to do to solidify themselves in that spot? Well, they have to spend money on League of Legends. You're getting a multi-million-dollar injection into your org of money. If you keep doing the same things that you are doing right now, including even just getting an upgraded roster and making it to Worlds and maybe going a little bit further, that's not enough. You need to show commitment to the game of League of Legends, to Riot Games product because they control this entire situation, and to developing a fandom and community long term, which already shot itself in the foot at the beginning of this because Malk didn't think through how fans would read this and interpret a statement saying to go elsewhere as a fan. Do I have faith that 100 Thieves will spend that money that they got on the League of Legends program? Not necessarily, no. Because the thing that you would have to do is you would have to bring in additional content creators, which 100 Thieves has always been kind of slow to do. Yasuo is still the only one on payroll, which is just wild. And Courage co-streaming the LCS once a split is not going to be enough to show dedication to it. You need to host watch parties, do more events, hire more people, which maybe that will come over the next few months. But Riot wants to make a decision clearly early on by the end of winter, spring at latest. That's a very quick turnaround for an org that clearly has its own political red tape to jump through. And I don't know if they can make those changes quick enough, nor would they be willing to, because I think that money is going to go elsewhere into expanding into Counter-Strike, maybe other content creators, other debt that they have. I think like clearly they wouldn't take the money otherwise. Why would you get rid of the partnership slot if you were already fine to begin with? No, you're taking this money because you need a bailout because you're scared that the company is going to go belly up without it. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it if you want to be a fundamental rock of esports. So for fans that are weary, yeah, you should look elsewhere. I don't blame you. This whole thing, especially the statements, just feels like a massive betrayal to fans that have been around for this org for a long period of time, but it's esports and that shit happens. CLG fans were quick to come at me for how I said everything against them, to which I would say, we ain't the same, brother. When CLG fans lost their org, they got so pissed at their replacement in NRG coming in saying that you ruined everything. It's like, I'm, as a 100 Thieves fan, I'm not going to be mad at whoever comes in and replaces 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves wanted out. I accept that. That's on management and their piss poor decisions. I'll be mad at them, not people that aren't related to it in any way, shape, or form. That's the difference between you and I. Do I wear that egg on my face for messing up the NRG call? Yeah, absolutely. But how I handled it, still better. As for what I'm going to do, because I know a lot of people are asking, honestly, I haven't even come to a full decision yet. Like, if I was smart, I would listen to the advice that I'm giving everybody else. I would go to Team Liquid or FlyQuest, who I think are the two orgs that if I was forced to pick, it would be one of those two. But I see my fandom in the same way that I see relationships. If your heart is not in a place to give, you shouldn't give it. You need to make sure that you yourself are in the place to fully give yourself over to a fandom, to fully embrace everything. And I'm not in that position right now because the org is still going to be competing, because the majority of the roster is still going to be there and the same. So for better or for worse, I am going to ride this one out for this last year. How I talk about the org will be drastically different, which I know will make some people unhappy. But if I'm comparing this to a relationship, those statements feel like I got cheated on. And that's not saying that you can't rebuild trust as time goes on, sure, but Riot is the one who ultimately determines my fate here. I trust Riot in a lot of ways. I know people give them shit for a myriad of different reasons, and are always angry at Riot for one thing or another. But most importantly, I trust Mark Z, who is heading up all of this. And if him and the crew around him make the decision that 100 Thieves should not be in the LCS, I 100% trust their judgment in every way, shape, or form. They will ultimately be the final verdict. And if they say that it's gone and it's done, then I'm done too. But if I had to guess now, I do not think 100 Thieves will be involved in League of Legends past this year. I hope this video provided some clarity for fans who might have been on the fence as we just kind of laid everything out. Maybe walking through this gave you some sort of resolution. It still doesn't fully for me, so believe me, I get it. If you're mixed and you feel different emotions and you haven't figured it out and can't figure it out, but I'll be in the comments. I'll be around. We'll talk about the LTA later this week, but this video is obviously long overdue. Had to be put out, and we could all figure this thing out together. The one thing I just hope is I hope people don't leave the LCS or the LTA and League of Legends as a whole just because 100 Thieves screws you over. There are people that will actually take care of you. Don't leave the ecosystem. Don't stop watching a game that we all clearly love just because one team, one group of C-suite executives decided to screw us all over. It's still the best esport in the world. Don't let heartbreak around the org convince you otherwise.